Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling one of the most influential books ever written, the Book of Genesis. We're going to distill it down to its core story. And believe me, it's a story packed with creation, failure, huge promises, and yeah, one incredibly complicated family.
You ever wonder where our oldest stories come from? You know, the big myths, the family dramas. A lot of them trace their roots right back to this one book. And it all starts not with a hero or some big battle, but with the creation of, well, everything. All right, let's jump in. Okay, so first up, creation and the fall. We're starting right at the beginning, from a perfect world to, well, a flawed humanity. The story kicks off with this really methodical creation of the world out of just darkness and chaos. And it doesn't take long to set up the very first major conflict for humankind.
Genesis just opens with this powerful, almost poetic sequence. Over 6 days, the world is literally spoken into existence. It's this incredible move from formless chaos to a totally ordered, vibrant world. Day 1, you get light and dark. Day 2, the sky. Then land, seas, plants. Each day just builds on the last, logically, until you have this whole, complete ecosystem.
And the absolute pinnacle of all this creation? That's us, humanity, Adam and Eve. They're crafted, as the text says, in our image, and they're put in charge of this brand new world from their home base, the Garden of Eden. Their job, basically, is to rule over it and take care of it. But right in the middle of this perfect garden, there's a catch, a test. You've got two very important trees. One is the tree of life, which, grants immortality. The other is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and that one is totally forbidden. So the choice seems pretty simple, right? Obey and live forever, or disobey and, well, face death.
And this is where we hit the first huge tragedy of the story. A crafty serpent comes along and convinces Eve and then Adam that they won't really die. So they eat the forbidden fruit, and bam! Their eyes are opened, they realize their own vulnerability, their innocence is just gone. The consequence is swift. They're kicked out of the garden, and a curse falls on humanity and even the ground itself.
So this new, flawed world outside of Eden, it gets dark fast. We see the very first murder. Cain, Adam and Eve's first son, gets jealous of his brother Abel and kills him. And when he's confronted, his response is this classic, defiant question, "Am I my brother's keeper?" It just shows you how broken things have already become.
All right, so moving on to our second part, a flood and a promise. We're talking a global reset and the very first covenant. So, generations pass, and the story describes a world that's just spiraling into so much violence and corruption that a drastic, planet-wide reset is needed.
But in the middle of all this wickedness, there's one guy, Noah, who's considered righteous. And he gets this monumental, honestly an impossible-sounding job. Build a gigantic ark. Why? To save his family and pairs of every single animal on Earth. He's warned that it's going to rain for 40 days and 40 nights, a serious period of testing.
And this flood is an absolute cataclysm. I mean, for a staggering 150 days, the water covers everything. We're talking even the highest mountains. The world is just wiped clean. The only survivors are Noah's family and the animals, all safe inside the ark, just floating on this silent, global ocean.
But after the waters finally go down, the story hits this massive turning point. A promise is made. It's called a covenant, that this kind of total destruction will never happen again. And this promise is sealed with a symbol that everyone knows, right? A rainbow in the clouds.
Okay, on to our third section, Abraham's Great Covenant. The story now funnels down from all of humanity to just one man. With that universal promise to Noah in place, the story's camera lens just zooms in dramatically. We go from the whole world to focusing on a single man, and his family is going to become the new focus of the story's big promise.
So this idea of a covenant, a sacred binding promise, which we first saw with Noah, now becomes the absolute engine of the entire story. It's the super important binding promise between God and humanity. And this next one, with a man named Abram, becomes a cornerstone for 3 of the world's biggest religions.
So Abram, who later gets his name changed to Abraham, is told to leave his home. And in return, he gets this world-changing, multi-part promise. First, he's going to be the father of a great nation. His descendants will be as numerous as the stars. They'll be given the land of Canaan, and, maybe most importantly, all the people on earth will be blessed through him. A huge deal.
So, let's talk about Jacob's family saga.
This is all about sibling rivalry and the birth of a nation's tribes. That incredible promise made to Abraham gets passed down, but let me tell you, it is anything but a smooth inheritance. The next few generations are just filled with intense family drama, deception, and a whole lot of struggle.
So Abraham's son, Isaac, he has twin boys, Esau and Jacob. And their rivalry is legendary. I mean, it starts before they're even born. They're total opposites. Esau's the rugged hunter, Jacob's the quiet one. And their parents play favorites, which just sets the stage for this massive conflict over who gets the family birthright and blessing.
And Jacob, whose name literally means he deceives, totally lives up to it. With his mom's help, he tricks his dying, blinded father. He puts on goat skins to feel like his hairy brother and steals the blessing meant for Esau. This act of deception forces him to run for his life from his brother's murderous rage.
So while Jacob's on the run, he ends up in this really complicated family situation. He has 2 wives, who are sisters, Leah and Rachel, plus their 2 servants. And through this very competitive family, he has 12 sons. And these 12 guys will become the founding fathers of the 12 tribes of Israel.
Years later, Jacob is on his way back home, and he has this bizarre all-night wrestling match with some mysterious man. He walks away with a permanent limp, but he also gets a new name, Israel, which means he struggles with God. This is a huge moment. It renames not just the man, but his entire future nation, really cementing this legacy of struggle and perseverance.
All right, that brings us to our final section, Joseph, from the pit to the palace. This part is all about the favored son whose dreams end up leading him to Egypt. We're focusing on the last major figure in Genesis, Jacob's favorite son, Joseph. And his story is maybe the most dramatic in the entire book, a total roller coaster of betrayal, suffering, and an absolutely unbelievable reversal of fortune.
Joseph gets this fancy, colorful robe from his dad, which already makes his brothers jealous. But it's his dreams that really push them over the edge. He starts telling everyone about his dreams, where his family's sheaves of grain, and then even the sun, the moon, and 11 stars are all bowing down to him. You can imagine how well that went over with his 10 older brothers. It was the last straw.
So out in the fields one day, their jealousy just boils over. First, they plot to kill him, but instead they throw him into an empty well. Then they see a caravan heading to Egypt, and one of the brothers, Judah, suggests, hey, instead of killing him, why don't we make some money? So, for 20 shekels of silver, Joseph is sold into slavery. Just like that, their brother is gone.
And here's the tragic irony. Jacob, the great deceiver, is now deceived himself. The brothers take Joseph's special robe, dip it in goat's blood, and show it to their father. They create this lie that he was killed by a wild animal. Jacob is left completely heartbroken, mourning a son he thinks is dead, all while Joseph is being carted off to Egypt in chains.
And that's exactly where the book of Genesis leaves us. It's a total cliffhanger, a family torn apart, a promise in peril. What's going to happen next? The promised family is completely fractured. Joseph is a slave in a foreign land, his brothers are eaten up by guilt, their father's broken by grief. The huge promise to Abraham seems like it's hanging by a thread, and it sets a really dramatic stage for the next chapter in this epic saga.